guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to give you GCSE tips on English language GCSEs, because English language is a GCSE subject that you have to do regardless whether you like it or not, and you may struggle with it, which I did, and I just want to give you some of my tips that I used throughout my English language GCSE experience, which actually helped me get very good grades, top grades in my GCSEs. So I just like to share them with you. So when it comes to English language, the first thing I want to tell you that you should do is to just continue practicing and doing lots of questions, lots of exam style questions. Because at the end of the day, practice makes perfect, and if you practice and you get your teacher to mark your work, to mark the answers that you have, and the teacher gives you feedback and tell you what you need to improve on, what went well, what you need to improve on, you continue practicing and doing exam style questions, you're going to improve and do well. So that's the first tip that I'm going to give to you, and that's the tip that actually was very beneficial to me and actually helped me a lot throughout my GCSE experience in doing English language. With English language, in terms of the paper, they have specific questions that they ask. For Edexcel, if I can remember, question 3 for paper 1, it was always like structure and language, which was 6 marks, and the next question was like evaluative. And in terms of that, English language is a bit predictable in terms of, okay, the type of questions you're going to be asked, because it's the same type of questions throughout the years. So you can use that to your advantage. You can look at the examiner reports, which is basically where examiners show you how to answer these questions and give you exemplar sort of answers. So if you go onto the examples, for example, for Edexcel Pearson, I remember going through the exam boards and looking at the examiner report, and for each question they would have exemplars and tell you why they got so marks, which was very helpful. So those examples that got like full marks in the question, you can really sort of use it to your advantage and see what they did well and compare it to the answers where the candidate didn't get full marks. And when it comes to English language, you should have like one key structure that you should follow, whether it's P-E-E, P-E-E-L, Peter, P-E-T-E-R, or P-E-E-R. You should just have one specific structure that you're just gonna follow and use. So for me, when it came to language, so if I'm looking at the language and the emotive language that they're using in the text, then I use Peter, which is point, evidence, terminology, explain, reader. The key part of the analysis when it comes to examiners marking it is the explanation and the reader. So it's very important for you guys to focus on those two key areas. So what I mean by explanation, so it's sort of thing like, okay, what does this word or this adjective mean? Like, what does it connotate? What does it imply? And then when it comes to the reader, always think about you. If it doesn't interest you, then think about how it could interest a particular audience. One thing that I also like to do when it comes to English language and when it comes to reading an extract is, before I start reading the extract, there's like a little beginning bit where it basically kind of gives you a sort of idea. It's normally in italics, but it gives you sort of an idea of what the extract is about. So I just kind of read that top bit, and I forgot what it's called again. And I basically be like, okay, who's the target audience? What's their motive? Is it to inform? Is it to explain? Is it to describe? Genre of text, whether it's a speech or whether it's an article, whether it's a novel. I like to use that before I actually read an extract. Another thing that I should also tell you guys not to do not say this interests the reader. No, that's very generic. It seems very generic and something that a lot of people say, and also leads to the question where it's like, okay, how, why does it interest the reader? You can't just say, oh, this interests the reader. Instead of just saying it interests the reader, use other languages. So use, oh, this excites the reader, this saddens the reader, this makes the reader feel sympathetic towards the character, it evokes empathy, disappoints the reader. Use those sort of words. Don't just use, oh, it interests the reader. And when you do say, oh, it excites the reader, you have to explain why. Why may it excite the reader? Why may it sadden the reader? Why may it disappoint the reader? Just by doing that, it will really help you. Just by adding that small bit of information, just explaining, okay, why it may excite the reader, can make such a big difference, a significant difference on how many more marks you may get. Like, another thing you guys should do is to read the question, or read it 2 times, because people lose marks by not reading the question properly. And when it comes to reading the question, do some underlining. Underline the key parts of the question. So if it says from lines 50 to 60, underline that, because that shows the exact area where you're meant to get your quote from. Otherwise, if you don't get your quote within that region of lines, then you're not going to get any marks. It just shows that you haven't read the question, so you're going to lose a significant amount of marks, which could be a difference between a grade 7 and a grade 8, or a grade 8 and a grade 9. So now when it comes to your creative writing, do not overdo it. It's very easy for someone to kind of like overdo their writing in terms of like use like so many different types of punctuation, use exotic sort of language and everything like that. Yes, it is good that you are using an ambitious vocabulary and you are using different types of punctuation, but it's not just using them, it's about using them in the right way, if that makes sense. So don't just add a semicolon just to show that, oh, I've used a semicolon. You have to use a semicolon in a way that it makes sense. Honestly, sometimes just using everyday sort of language can be quite helpful. To write formally, not informal. So at the end of the day, it's just the examiner that's reading it. They don't know you, you don't know them. And when it comes to writing, especially when it comes to imaginative writing, one thing that I like to say, that I like to do when it comes to writing, is to not to say it, not to like say it, but to describe it. An example, don't just tell me that, oh, this is a haunted house. Describe the haunted house. Create a sort of picture for the reader and the examiner to sort of envision that this is a haunted house, and that's where you can use your good vocabulary and good punctuation. And exactly how I said previously, all just really practice and just write. Honestly, just write lots of different, just write stories, write creatively as often as you can. Give it to your teacher to mark, and they will happily mark it, and they will give you feedback on where you need to improve. Honestly, you just need to continuously do it, continuously practice writing, and your teacher will give you feedback on what you need to improve on, what you did well, and you continuously do it, and you will see an improvement in your work. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys found it useful, and make sure to like and subscribe if you want more videos like this, and I will see you next week. So bye guys.